From that follow the white rabbit screen flicker to that gravity-defying bullet dodge. Here are 25 weird The Matrix facts you probably never knew. Before The Matrix was a groundbreaking sci-fi film, it was something entirely different. A comic book. The Wachowskis originally pitched the idea not with a script, but with a 600-page illustrated comic-style storyboard. They hired comic book artist Geof Darrow and concept illustrator Steve Skroce to bring their dystopian world to life, panel by panel. The reason? Studio executives didn't understand the dense, mind-bending script, so the Wachowskis decided to show them what it could look like. It was a bold move that worked, but just because the visuals sold the idea didn't mean the story was ready. The Wachowskis didn't just scribble out The Matrix on a coffee-stained napkin. The script went through a grueling 14 different drafts over the course of 5 years. That's 5 years of tweaking dialogue, shaping action sequences, and crafting a world that was both philosophically deep and visually explosive. Why so many drafts? Because The Matrix wasn't your average action flick. The Wachowskis wanted it to combine cyberpunk cool kung fu fights, AI paranoia, and existential philosophy. It wasn't easy getting that balance right. The duo even hired storyboard artists to sketch out entire action scenes when words weren't enough. These visuals became part of the pitch to studios, helping the filmmakers translate their vision into something Hollywood could understand and fund. Scripts can evolve, but identities? Those almost shattered the entire fabric of the story. Believe it or not, The Matrix could have had a female Neo. Early in development, Warner Brothers was open to gender swapping the role to boost mainstream appeal.
Decided to make, film noir with the woman as the protagonist.
And even approached Sandra Bullock for the part. She liked the concept, but ultimately passed. Imagine that version of the red pill scene. But the gender-bending ideas didn't stop there. One character, Switch.
Not like this.
She was originally designed to be literally 2 genders, male in the real world and female inside the Matrix. This twist was meant to visually express the film's deeper message about identity and perception. However, Warner Brothers axed the idea, deeming it too confusing for audiences at the time. Before the red pill ever reached Keanu's hand, it slipped through some of the most powerful fingers in Hollywood. Keanu Reeves wasn't the first pick for Neo, not even close. Before he landed the role, a whole A-list lineup turned it down. Will Smith was approached early but passed to make Wild Wild West, a decision he's publicly laughed about ever since.
I probably would have messed the Matrix up. I would have ruined it. So I did Jaw a favor.
Next up, Brad Pitt. He was interested but ultimately dropped out, citing exhaustion. Then came Leonardo DiCaprio, fresh off Titanic. He declined because he didn't want to follow up a mega hit with heavy CGI. Even Nicolas Cage and Tom Cruise were floated as options at one point. It was a casting circus. And just when you thought the Neo casting saga was wild, wait until you hear who almost wore the black leather alongside him. You probably know Carrie-Anne Moss is Trinity, but did you know Janet Jackson almost was? That's right. In the late 90s, the pop icon was actively pursued for the role. She was interested, but a packed touring schedule made it impossible. She later said she regretted turning it down. Another surprising contender was Jada Pinkett Smith, who auditioned but didn't land the role due to what the directors called a lack of chemistry with Keanu Reeves. Still, they liked her so much that she was later cast as Niobe in the sequels. Casting Trinity was surprising, but the search for Morpheus? That nearly rewrote the soul of the entire film. Lawrence Fishburne defined Morpheus with that calm, commanding voice and those legendary shades. But he wasn't the first choice. Early in casting, producers looked at several major names. Russell Crowe was considered, but passed. Samuel L. Jackson was also in the mix, which would have brought a completely different energy to the role. The wildest option? Sean Connery. Yes, James Bond himself was reportedly offered the part, but declined because he didn't understand the script. Fishburne, on the other hand, got it immediately, and his delivery of lines like,
"Do you want to know what it is?"
and
He is the one.
became iconic. Now, imagine actors who barely landed their roles suddenly being thrown into the training regime of Olympic-level warriors. Before a single scene was filmed, the cast of The Matrix went through an intense 4-month boot camp in martial arts. No Hollywood shortcuts. This was the real deal. The Wachowskis hired legendary Hong Kong fight choreographer Yuen Wu Ping, the man behind Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, to train the actors from scratch. Every punch, every kick, every wall run was meticulously drilled. Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, and Lawrence Fishburne trained 6 days a week, up to 8 hours a day.
We trained for 6 months, 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, with a team from Hong Kong.
And they weren't just learning to fight, they were learning to fight on wires. Wire fu, as it's called, is no joke. It requires total body control and timing. Training was brutal for everyone. Yet, behind the scenes, one actor took that pain to a level no one saw coming. Carrie-Anne Moss didn't just play a fearless hacker, she was one. During early stunt training, Moss actually broke her leg, but instead of reporting the injury, she kept quiet and pushed through filming, terrified that if she said anything, she'd be replaced. It wasn't a minor injury either. She cracked a bone and twisted her ankle badly during a rehearsal.
The boots were a bit of a problem. I had quite a bit of a heel. Went over on my ankle once, which was a bit problematic.
The pain was real, but the pressure to keep the role was stronger. Remember, Moss wasn't a big star at the time. This was her shot, and she wasn't about to lose it. She wrapped the leg, gritted her teeth, and kept kicking. If you watch closely, some of the later scenes were choreographed to avoid heavy leg work on her left side, but she never missed a day. While Moss was hiding a broken leg, Keanu was recovering from something even more invasive. Scars that were still fresh when the cameras started rolling. Just weeks before training for The Matrix began, Keanu Reeves underwent serious spinal surgery. Doctors had to remove 2 herniated discs in his neck, and the procedure left him with limited mobility in his legs. He was literally healing from being cut open when stunt rehearsals started. Because of this, Reeves couldn't kick during most of the initial training period. That's why, if you look closely at the film's early fight scenes, especially Neo's sparring session with Morpheus, he does a lot more punching than kicking. His legs simply weren't ready. It wasn't just the on-screen couple who endured real pain. Their on-screen enemy was fighting a brutal injury of his own, and almost didn't make it to the set. Agent Smith may have moved like a machine, but Hugo Weaving was dealing with a very human problem, a painful hip injury. Just days into fight training, Weaving tore a muscle in his hip. It was bad enough that doctors considered pulling him from the film entirely. But like his co-stars, Weaving refused to back down. He adapted his movements and pushed through the pain. His fight choreography was adjusted slightly, with fewer kicks and less twisting. Still, the intensity of his scenes, especially the subway fight with Neo, didn't let up. Pain wasn't the only thing dragging things out. What happened next pushed the entire production way past its limits. The Matrix was originally scheduled to shoot in 90 days. That's 3 months of tight, disciplined filming. But things didn't go according to plan. In the end, the production took 118 days, almost a full month longer than planned. Why the delay? A lot of it came down to the complexity of the action. Between wire work, slow-motion shots, and highly choreographed fight scenes, the filming process was slow and physically demanding. Scenes that might take a day on a typical set sometimes took a week on The Matrix. Delays were stacking up, but behind the scenes, the biggest illusion wasn't time, it was place. You'd swear The Matrix takes place in a gloomy version of Chicago. Gritty streets, looming skyscrapers, Midwestern vibes. But it was actually filmed almost entirely in Sydney, Australia. The city's sleek, modern architecture and relatively low filming costs made it the perfect stand-in for a digital dystopia. Look closely and you'll spot a few clues, but the filmmakers were clever. They carefully avoided wide shots that revealed too much. Buildings were framed to look generic and universal, as if The Matrix itself wanted to avoid being pinned down to a single location. Saving millions by filming in Sydney was smart, and the next move took that efficiency even further by recycling entire sets from another sci-fi classic. Ever get the feeling you've seen parts of The Matrix somewhere else? You're not wrong. Several key sets in the movie were actually recycled from the 1998 sci-fi film Dark City, a moody noir thriller that also explored themes of identity, memory, and illusion. The Wachowskis filmed The Matrix at Fox Studios Australia, the exact same location where Dark City had just wrapped. Rather than build new environments from scratch, the production team repurposed existing sets, especially city streets and rooftops. If Neo's rooftop escape in The Matrix looks familiar, it's probably because you saw a similar layout just a year earlier. These were not the only tricks used to stretch the budget. There were more. What looked sleek and futuristic on screen was, in reality, sticky, squeaky, and suffocating. Trinity's black catsuit may look high-tech, but in reality, it was made of cheap PVC vinyl, basically plastic.
I wore black PVC, which is actually much more comfortable than it looks.
That's right. The most iconic outfit in The Matrix cost far less than it looks and came with a whole lot of discomfort. PVC doesn't breathe. During action scenes under hot studio lights, Carrie-Anne Moss would overheat, sweat pooling under the suit. It was so tight and sticky that it had to be peeled off between takes, but visually, it was perfect. The shiny, reflective material gave Trinity her now legendary cyberpunk silhouette. Neo's coat wasn't luxury fabric either. It was made from a synthetic fiber that was digitally printed to resemble wool, giving it the look of something tailored and expensive without the cost or weight. Style in The Matrix wasn't just visual, it was philosophy stitched into fabric and balanced on the bridge of a nose. The sunglasses in The Matrix weren't just cool, they were custom designed for every single actor.
You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
The Wachowskis didn't want off-the-rack shades. They wanted each character's glasses to reflect their personality, role, and presence in The Matrix. So they teamed up with Blind Design Project, an independent eyewear company, to create unique frames. Morpheus's rounded, frameless lenses made him look wise and zen-like. Neo's narrow, rectangular shades suggested focus and precision. Trinity's mirrored lenses added an icy, untouchable edge. Every frame was styled with purpose. Even the colors were coded to speak a language your brain understood before you did. Ever notice how everything inside the Matrix has a strange green tint? That's not your TV. It's completely intentional. The filmmakers color-graded the movie to help viewers subconsciously separate reality from simulation. Scenes that take place inside the Matrix are tinted green, mimicking the green code that rains down on computer monitors throughout the film. Even the lighting on actors and walls was adjusted to feel like you're watching through an old computer screen. In contrast, scenes in the real world, on the Nebuchadnezzar or in Zion, are graded with a cool blue tone. It's a little colder, more mechanical, and visually distinct from the simulation. Color helped you feel the difference between worlds. Then came a moment so visually impossible, it rewrote the rules of cinematic time itself. The moment Neo leans back and dodges bullets in slow motion, that jaw-dropping scene didn't just wow audiences, it changed action movies forever. But making it happen wasn't easy. It took 120 still cameras, 2 film cameras, custom rigs, and about $750,000 to pull off just a few seconds of bullet time. The technique was revolutionary. The cameras were arranged in a tight arc around Keanu Reeves, each one fired in a precise sequence, capturing individual frames from slightly different angles. Then, those frames were stitched together to create the illusion that time had frozen, but the camera was still moving. Freezing time took innovation and money, but the most iconic visual in the entire film started with something far simpler: a cookbook. The green, digital rain falling across the screen, the signature look of The Matrix, is one of the most iconic visual effects in movie history. But where did it come from? Believe it or not, the secret behind that hypnotic code is sushi. Simon Whiteley, the production designer responsible for creating the digital code, revealed that he scanned characters from his Japanese wife's sushi cookbooks. Then, he mirrored and flipped the characters, combining them with numbers and symbols to create the now famous code cascade. From delicate symbols inspired by sushi to walls exploding in clouds of concrete, suddenly, the simulation got violently real. The lobby shootout scene is one of the most adrenaline-pumping sequences in action movie history. And guess what? Almost all of it was done practically. No CGI shortcuts. Just real explosions, real stunt work, and an absurd amount of debris. It took 10 full days to film that scene, even though it lasts under 4 minutes on screen. The walls were made of breakaway materials that shattered in slow motion. The slow motion effects were done in camera, not digitally, using ultra-high-speed film to capture every flying chunk of concrete and every spinning flip. After a storm of bullets and collapsing marble, the film pauses, only to slip something far more dangerous into your hands. A book that questions if any of it was ever real. Early in the film, Neo hides illegal software inside a hollowed-out book. But not just any book. It's Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation, a dense piece of postmodern philosophy. The choice wasn't random. It was a giant, blinking Easter egg. Baudrillard's book is all about how modern life replaces reality with symbols and simulations, how we start to accept fake things as real. Sound familiar? That's literally the core idea of The Matrix. The book even argues that we no longer live in reality, and the Wachowskis required all the lead actors to read it during pre-production. First, he hides truth inside a book. Then, he spends nearly half the movie trying to read the world around him out loud, one question at a time. Watch the first 45 minutes of The Matrix closely, and you'll notice something strange about Neo's dialogue. It's mostly questions. Seriously, out of about 80 lines he speaks in that stretch, more than half are interrogative. This wasn't lazy writing. It was intentional. As the film progresses and Neo learns more, his questions fade. They're replaced by commands, choices, and eventually, declarations. He stops asking what's real and starts deciding what's real. As Neo's questions fade and confidence rises, the world around him starts to crack, literally. And one of the film's most powerful visuals? Total accident. Right after the legendary lobby shootout, as Neo and Trinity ride the elevator upward, there's a wide shot showing the marble pillars behind them crumbling and collapsing. Chunks of concrete fall in slow motion as dust fills the air. It feels perfectly timed, like the Matrix itself is breaking apart. But here's the thing. Many fans and viewers believe those collapsing columns weren't scripted. The theory is that after days of filming with thousands of blanks, squibs, and physical stunts, the foam set began to literally fall apart from the stress. Rather than reset or reshoot, the Wachowskis reportedly loved the raw realism of the damage and left it in. And just like those pillars, something else was quietly collapsing too, the era of VHS. The Matrix would soon help launch DVD into the mainstream, rewindable, pausable, and high def, just in time to watch those pillars fall again. Back in 1999, DVDs were still a relatively new format. Most people were still clinging to their VHS tapes. Then, The Matrix came along and changed everything. It became the first DVD to sell over 3 million copies in the US, kicking off a home video revolution. Why did it blow up? 2 reasons: visuals and rewatchability. Fans wanted to pause, rewind, and obsess over every frame of bullet time and kung fu action. The DVD format, with its crystal-clear picture and extra features, made that possible in a way VHS never could. Millions rewatched it frame by frame at home. Yet when it hit the biggest stage in film, it stunned everyone by winning where it mattered most, and being snubbed where no one expected. When The Matrix hit the Oscars in 2000, nobody expected a sci-fi action film to make waves, but it did more than win. It swept all 4 technical categories it was nominated for: Best Visual Effects, Best Film Editing, Best Sound, and Best Sound Editing. And surprisingly, it didn't even get nominated for Best Picture. That's rare. Most Oscar-sweeping films earn nominations in the major categories too, but The Matrix was seen by many in Hollywood as just a genre film. Cool, flashy, but not awards-worthy. Hollywood may have brushed it off as flashy genre fiction, but a decade later, the US government locked it in a vault and called it a cultural treasure. In 2012, The Matrix received one of the highest honors a film can get. It was inducted into the US Library of Congress's National Film Registry. That means it's officially recognized as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, and will be preserved for future generations. Only 25 films are added to the registry each year. The selection isn't about popularity or box office numbers. It's about impact. And The Matrix had plenty of that. From slow-mo shootouts to behind-the-scenes injuries, The Matrix has some seriously wild secrets. And those were 25 weird Matrix facts you probably never knew. Want more weird movie facts? Tap the screen. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.